Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Bear It All with Jay.
And Jay.
And she always thinks she can sing. And we have a lovely guest here. Guest, what is your name?
Hi, my name is Regina Grizzle.
Hello, Regina.
It's a pleasure to be here with you guys today.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for
We're really
coming.
excited to have you. Doesn't she have such a nice, calm, soothing
Yes,
voice?
definitely.
Oh my gosh.
Y'all just tune in for her voice, really.
Yeah, we're going to get into who she is and why she is here.
For sure. So, we're going to start off with our battle
game.
So, I'm going to be the host of the battle game, and they're going to be deciding.
I think she does this on purpose because she wants us to, look bad. This is why.
Nobody's going to look bad. These are just real simple, things that you hear every day. It's like a myth or truth or myth or whatever. So fact or fiction, basically. I know we've done something similar in the past, but there's new topics.
Yeah,
So-
because you can't make your guests look bad.
Oh, I would never want to make my guests look
I mean,
bad.
how can you look bad? Hello.
It's a matter of just guessing if you think it's true or false. It's really simple. So what I'm going to start off with is, I'll start with our guest. If you go out in the cold and the rain, will you catch a cold? Is that fact or fiction?
Fiction.
Exactly. Fiction. So if you go outside and it's raining and it's cold, even if your hair is wet from the shower, you're not going to catch a cold, okay?
That grandmom said, don't go outside just out the shower or if your hair is wet because you won't catch a cold.
Right.
Grandmom, I'm sorry. I love you.
Sorry, I
but
love
you're
you
wrong.
too, but
you're
it's a
wrong.
lie.
But you're wrong.
Grandma, you're wrong.
How do you catch a cold?
By
From
germs.
the actual germ itself.
Exactly. So if
The
you're not
actual
washing
bacteria.
your
Yes.
hands and you're, touching doorknobs, nobody's washing their hands, and you're touching the umbrellas, nobody's washing their hands, that's how you get a cold, okay? It's not from going outside in the cold, all right? Unless you're outside in the cold and you get hypothermia, that's a whole nother story. That's like if you're in the mountains
Real
hiking in the cold, that's a totally different story, but that's more than a cold.
Someone just said this to me last week, and they were 50-something years old. They're like, oh, you're going to catch a cold.
Yes, for sure. All right, for you. Is this fact or fiction? We only use 10% of our brains.
I feel like it's a fact. Because the way people... I feel like it's a fact because these people, I don't know, they might be using a little bit less than that.
Less.
I know it does seem that way, but unfortunately, it is fiction. We do use more than 10% of our brains because our different lobes of the brains, they communicate with each other. So, I'm not going to get into all the physiology behind
So
it.
what percentage do we use?
There isn't a specific percentage. It's individualized per person. So,
What's the average?
the average
Never heard
is actually way less than, a 50%, an 80%. So it's still way less than we would like for it to be. But it's a matter of us how much we're stimulating our brains. Like if you're just looking at your phone all day, watching TV all day, and you're not really stimulating your brain, then you're going to use less and less. And the less percentage of your brain that you use, the more susceptible you are to getting dementia and things of that nature when you get older. So reading, solving puzzles, having critical conversations with your friends and family where you really
Oh, we
have
got
to
some health tips
think
up in
about
here.
things. I know I'm doing the health tip too early. Anyways, so we definitely use more.
Well, it's a good thing I had my my Rise mushroom blend, my 6 mushrooms
Oh yes,
to help my brain. I want to use it all.
Yes, and I use mine too. Thank you for
Clarity,
that.
it feels so good.
She got this amazing matcha.
Rise matcha.
Yes.
Yeah, it's it has 6 different mushrooms like
Cordyceps.
cordyceps,
Lion's mane.
lion's mane. What's the other one? I don't know. There was obviously there's 4 others, but I can't think right now what they are. However,
But it's
so
amazing.
good.
It's really
Yes.
amazing. So I'll do 2 more. I'll go back to you. So does sugar make children hyperactive? Fact or fiction?
Yes.
So that is also a myth.
Myth, I knew it.
Yes. So it's a myth because it's not
hear it all the
necessarily, I know, we've been hearing this for years and years and years. So sugar actually does the opposite because sugar causes you to have a rise, but not necessarily in hyperactivity. It actually makes you more tired at the end of the day. Like it doesn't cause someone to be hyperactive, but it does cause you to have a lack of activity after so much consumption. So it's really not the sugar. Yeah, it's really not the sugar that causes it. It's more of the crash at the end, which is unhealthy. So, for anybody, not just children, but really limit the lack of the amount of sugar that you have in your system. But it doesn't cause hyperactivity. All right, last one.
Give all y'all kids sugar, okay? All the ones that got ADHD, just give them sugar.
So, of course, we don't want to do that. So, for you, a flattening heart, when you see that where there's no activity.
Oh, I went to nursing school. Dad,
Does
but I
that
forgot.
mean can you restart a flattening
A
heartbeat
flat line.
with a defibrillator?
You're so wrong for this.
No, I'm not.
Can you
So
restart?
if you see a on the monitor, it's a flat line. Do you go in there and defibrillate? What is the first action? Do you defibrillate or do you do CPR?
Oh my gosh, I don't even.
It's okay if you.
I don't
it's
even
okay.
know. I would think that.
What do you think?
Well, I know when you do CPR, obviously, if they're they're not breathing, so I guess you just go in there and yep, defibrillate.
Okay, so that's a myth. So if
When I
you
call
see
911, get the AED and the first aid kit.
So if you see a flattening heart rate, it's called asystole, and the only thing that's going to save that person is CPR. Okay? We only defibrillate patients if they're in an arrhythmia, such as ventricular fibrillation, if we're doing some sort of cardioversion to get them out of an arrhythmia. But if they have no heart, nothing, no heartbeat, anything like that, then
do CPR.
Just the CPR. Now, there's also another one called PEA, pulseless electric asystole, where you do see a beat, but they have no pulse. Then you still do CPR, and you only do defibrillation if the heart rate is an arrhythmia, where it's irregular. It's ventricular fibrillation where it's all over the place. So if you ever see someone and they don't have a pulse, just start CPR. Right. That's the main thing. CPR. And then when they hook up the defibrillator, they'll determine what rhythm the heart is in. If it's in any rhythm, then they can determine if the person needs to be defibrillated.
But that's like in a hospital setting.
No, that's
I'm
outside
saying in
too,
a hospital
if you have
setting,
an
and you'll
AED.
see. You're not going to know what it. You're not going to know in a hospital setting. All I know is you see somebody that's lifeless
Right.
that has that's not breathing. You
Right.
immediately start CPR.
Exactly. Call 911, CPR for sure. But then when you're out in the gym or you're in a restaurant in the mall and they bring the AED machine will tell you if, it needs to be defibrillated
Right.
or not. It'll say continue CPR or it'll say clear the patient
Clear.
and we're going to defibrillate.
All clear.
Clear.
Right, exactly. So that's
Push
our
the
game.
button. I'm a CPR trainer, guys.
And I think, was it a tie? No, you got both wrong, right? So she got one. So you won. Our guess won our battle game.
I'm sorry, we don't have any goodies for you. You just get to hang with us today.
She gets bragging rights. Bragging rights.
bragging rights. 'Cause I don't think anybody beat us, okay? Or beat me. Well, yeah.
I think I have a candy cane somewhere, but it's probably from Christmas.
Probably from
Oh
Christmas.
my God.
You don't want to suck on that thing. It's old.
All right. Well, congratulations to our beautiful guests for winning our battle game. So Jamie's going to start off with our topic today.
So, well, I'll start off by saying, I guess this is probably, it's really tough. I mean, obviously something that is inevitable in life is death. And
So they keep telling me.
yesterday, my sister, her mom, she's in St. Croix, and she went Wednesday to St. Croix. I just saw my sister last Saturday. And we don't have the same mom. But she went there with her daughter and her mom, and someone hit them head on, and her mom got killed. And so on vacation. So something like that is heart-wrenching. It's like I don't really know what to say. I don't know what to say. I mean, the only thing I can offer, I feel like, is like I'm there, show up. Not just that, like I have a girlfriend who just lost her uncle. And so, death is inevitable, right? But it's like, what do you say? How do you handle when you lose someone that's very close to you? Whether it's relationships, money, the grieving process of losing anything or, a person. So tell us who you are. And then, I know you want to be able to answer that.
Well, as I said, my name is Regina Grizzle, and I am a certified grief and empowerment coach. And what my intention is...
Put your mic up a little closer. I'm sorry, just in case. Yeah.
Good. My intention is to get people from grief to gratitude and
Grief to gratitude, I like
understanding that there is life after death. Because when you're in the midst of it, you don't understand
You don't see it.
You don't see it. Your sister is in a whirl of hurt, but right now, she's just in shock.
Right, and that's exactly what she said.
She's in shock.
Yeah.
She's going through the motions. She's putting one foot in front of the other. It hasn't really sank in. It probably is so surreal for her.
Something that's supposed to be so fun. You're on vacation. Her and her mom were like this. You're on vacation. You're supposed to have fun. And now your whole world has been turned upside down. And I'm just thinking about her last night, like in bed. I'm like, she has to get on that plane without her mom.
Exactly.
She has to make arrangements to fly her mom back to the States.
Is she there alone?
Just her and her mom and
Her daughter.
Her daughter. And her dad is actually flying today, so he might be there now. But
good, because that is horrific to have to deal with all alone, And I mean, her view of vacation, everything is forever changed.
right, like you're probably never going to go to St. Croix. It's
Or
when you get on a plane, it's going to
take her a
be
while to go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Definitely. All those
because
triggers
all
are
those
definitely going to
triggers
keep popping up.
You gotta. Don't worry about it.
doesn't
You
matter. I
gotta.
don't
You
care.
gotta.
It's all right.
You gotta function. You still gotta be able to pay your bills, go to work, pay your bills, still live your life. But then also, while you're living that life, like how are you getting through each day?
Because you're really not living a life. You're on autopilot. You're just doing what's necessary. The pro for her is that she has a baby. So she'll have to pull through. She has to take care. That's her saving grace.
Yeah, she has
right
three.
now.
She has 3 kids.
Those
and
are her saving
brother.
grace.
That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, it does, because you have no choice.
You'll do anything
because you
for
are
your
responsible for your dependents. So that
Exactly.
makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
That's the
I was
thing.
going to ask you why. So, what made you become a grief counselor?
Well, losing my husband, my bestie, my best friend, we did everything together. We were definitely joined at the hip. So, and I wasn't expecting it.
How long were you guys together?
30 years.
30 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah. And it is so, it's like I've gone through it and still sometimes can't find the words to describe the depth of pain. It's like I would say to my friend, I hurt on so many levels, I never even realized I was that deep.
Oh,
That's
wow.
how many levels I
Yes.
hurt on.
Oh, I'm sure.
So, how
And-
long ago?
20.
Okay, so 20 years ago.
No, sweetie. 2020.
2020.
2020.
So, yeah, okay.
Not 3 yet, September.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, can
And
you?
I still get triggered. Look, when you told me, I started tearing up. I still get triggered.
Oh, sure, definitely.
It's not.
I mean, you're making me teary eyed
it's
just
not a
because it's like you.
I
Don't,
know, I am
it's,
too.
It's
You don't
not
wanna
a
see-
feat. It's not. It's
And she don't
definitely
ever
not for the
teary-eyed.
faint of heart.
Right,
You know,
right.
it's not.
That's true.
But it's something you have
So
to do.
I'm going to ask you personal questions, but I just, because I feel like, I know we talked about this, right? So I just feel it's necessary because we want to be able to give people, you know, tools to help them,
Yeah.
help them get through this. And this is, and it's so ironic that, you know,
This
my
happened
sister,
to you,
my
yeah.
sister's mother passed yesterday, and then you're here today, and so maybe this will allow me to help her get through, you know,
Of
what
course.
she's going through. So, what happened, like with your, you know, with your husband? I know you said that you guys were joined at the hip. Was it sudden? Was he sick? It was.
He became ill, but it was really quick, and he had gotten so much better. So we thought he was going because my birthday and our anniversary both are in September.
September what?
Which one? My birthday?
Yeah.
The 5th. My anniversary, the 7th.
Okay. Wow, they're so close.
Indeed.
September
together.
13th. Yes.
And he was doing so well on my birthday. He, behind my back, because he wasn't allowed to have his phone, and he asked me for his phone. And of course, being Miss Virgo, what do you need your phone for? He's like, woman, just give me my phone,
Damn
please.
Virgos.
Yep, just give me my phone, please. We gave it to him. And he arranged, on my birthday that year, it fell on Saturday. It was like every hour and a half, somebody was knocking on the door bringing me gifts.
Oh my God, that's so
sweet.
sweet.
Indeed, that was him.
Oh my gosh.
And he was doing so well. We both had so much hope.
Yeah.
And then that year, so the anniversary fell on Memorial Day. And he started going down. And by the 18th, he was done.
Wait, in September?
Yeah.
Oh, so Labor Day.
Labor Day.
Okay,
my,
okay.
my anniversary fell on Labor Day that year. And by the 18th, he was done.
Oh, wow.
So within that's like 2 weeks, a week and a
So,
half.
you know, needless to say, he screwed my September forever. Because no matter
Because you don't
what,
look forward to September now, even though
and
your
my
birthday. Yeah.
Right.
I'm like, dude,
Yeah.
you don't know how many times I looked at his picture and said, I could kill you for this.
So, what motions were you going through? Like, tell us, like, what that process is. Like, you know, the different levels of grief.
Right. All the steps. And I'm
Well,
sure they're
for
different
me-
for everyone.
Yeah, because they'll tell you the 7 phases, which
Yeah.
now they're sort
That's
of
by the book.
phasing that out because it's not true.
Right.
You know, I never went through anger. That's a phase I didn't go. I was just too broken to get angry. And for the longest, it was just trying to put one foot in front of the other. The whole world seemed so ominous. I was scared of everything. I couldn't walk past my front door. I was in such fear. And then the other thing in my situation, I was alone. So I'm trying to deal with this all by
By
myself.
yourself. That's tough.
So, do you not have family in the area or?
And I'm an only child.
Oh, what about friends?
So I'm
No?
That's
what
when you-
about them?
Oh.
Good question.
Okay.
What about them? That's what I kept thinking.
Wow.
So wait, were your
Especially the
friends
type of
not there?
person Paul was? Are you kidding? Y'all love him so much. Where are you now?
Right.
So you mean
It
to tell me,
was-
so you going through this tough time of losing your husband, your friends were not there?
Nope.
Not one.
Nope. Not after the service. Because remember 2020, he passed in the midst of COVID also.
Right.
So we're from New York. So his family had to come from New York. And they did. But at that time, we were only able to have, I think, 25% capacity.
Okay.
So more people, I had the repast at my home. So more people came
Coachella.
there.
I see.
Okay.
And because it was September, it was done outside, you know,
Okay.
in my backyard.
Okay.
But After that, Regina, you're on your own.
Wow. Not even from his family reached out? No? Okay.
And it's like, is it because like people are so busy in their own lives that it's like, all right, they're here, I'm showing up for the event, the main event, and now I go back to my life and not thinking.
It's hard for me to say because I am such a different person.
Right.
I would never leave you like that, ever. So it was really hard for me to see. I mean, now I understand why it was definitely orchestrated. Let me say it this way, divinely orchestrated for me to get here. I needed that.
So talk about
I
that.
needed that. And at the time, though, it hurt like hell. I didn't understand. And when you lose your husband, a big part of your self-esteem goes with him. So then when you turn around and no one is there,
Right.
whatever is left,
Right.
that's done also. So because I couldn't help but think, as I look back on the 30 years with him and how we interacted with people, and I'm thinking, I got this age and no one cares, that's painful.
Right. Right.
Now, do you
As
think
much
that,
as I pour into people,
Right.
no one cares, really?
but do you think that, do you realize now that, or do you still believe that no one cared, or that they didn't show they care, or they didn't know how to care?
All of the above.
All the above.
Because I'm going to say, I feel like when a close person to you loses someone, you don't always know what to do.
Right.
Right.
And I was saying
get
to
that.
Jamie earlier, people's like, oh, I pray for you, I pray for you, I pray for you. Well, guess what? Prayers aren't going to do anything. I'm sorry.
Indeed.
You have to
Indeed.
show up for them. If it's food, if it's companionship,
Yep.
if it's to take them shopping, to get them out of the house. Prayers, I'm sorry.
Indeed.
I'm not trying to be mean or
Yep.
say that religion is wrong. I'm just saying that it's not going to do anything. If you text someone, oh, I'm praying for you. You call someone on the phone, I'm praying for you.
And what exactly does that mean?
Exactly.
It's not going to help you get out of. It's not going to
surely
help you.
doesn't.
And I know people are going to listen. I know people are going to have some issues
And
about
that's
this,
fine.
and that's fine.
Bring on the issues.
No
Bring on
doubt.
the comments because I'm ready for every
And
single one
I'm the
of
one
them.
that dealt with it, and I will say
But it's
that
not going to
is
help
so
you get out of
true.
the bed.
It does not.
It doesn't help
Right.
you.
Right.
Exactly.
It does not. It does nothing.
Like, I know there's probably times
it
when you
feels
probably
like
didn't
empty
eat.
words.
You probably didn't eat because
For
food made you
probably
sick.
about 4 months, I lost so much weight because for so many reasons. First of all, Paul was the cook, and I hate cooking. I still don't eat.
Right. Oh, no. So the thing is, if you don't know what to do, if someone close to you loses someone, if you don't know what to do, guess what you can do? You can ask them, you know what can I do for you
Exactly.
right now? Do you need someone to listen to you? Do you need someone to come to your house and take you shopping? Do you want to go, for a walk? Because most people who lose someone don't want to be around crowds. So you may
Right.
not want to go to the
Exactly.
mall.
It's like
You may
another
not wanna
person I got
go-
to talk to,
Right.
but it's like
Right.
you want to know that somebody's there to support you, but it's like
And
I don't have the energy to.
At the time, even asking them, they might not know.
Right.
Because I couldn't tell you exactly
What you needed.
I needed because I didn't know. I was in such a fog. So, even someone just calling and saying, Gina, I can't even imagine right now what you're going through. But just know I'm here. If you need me, just pick up the phone. That's all.
Or just
and
say-
I understand they couldn't come by. We're still dealing with COVID.
Right.
I got that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Even putting a card outside your house, like on the
Right.
mailbox,
Right,
or
dropping something off. Right. I will just say, I'm coming to your house on Monday at 12. I'm going to drop off a bag of food. If you want me to come in, I'll wear a mask, COVID, whatever. That's fine. But I'll knock on the door 5 times. If you come to the door, I'll know you're ready for me to give you some companionship. If not, take the bag and do what you want with it.
And I definitely would have come to the door. I felt so lonely and so isolated and so broken. I got to the point where I was like, God, okay, I'm tired of crying now. I can't. I'm dehydrated. I've cried so much. I can't cry anymore. I mean, under the best of circumstances, even with people around the way it should be, you still hurt. They can't take away the
Right.
pain. That's
Oh, no.
something you have to deal with.
Yeah.
Right.
But at least it makes you feel better knowing that they're there. They don't say anything. I'm just going to spend the night with you because I'm sure you're not sleeping. And I wasn't. I still don't. It's still hard for me to sleep.
Well, it's still new, you know?
Right.
And, you know, I do appreciate you even coming to talk about it because it does bring up emotions. It's like re-traumatizing. So you made a comment about that, you know, Paul cooked and you did not cook. And I know we've
I
talked.
ate good, though.
You ate good. Yeah, I'm sure he took care of you, made sure.
I ate.
So
I love a man that can cook. I will say that.
where y'all at?
Exactly. Let's not go there.
So the fact that I know we talked and you did feel lost because someone, like, you didn't know how to operate without him
Without him.
because you did everything together.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Do you recommend, like, just say, give an advice to maybe somebody who, I don't know, was younger, just dating. Would you recommend them having time for themselves by themselves, not depending on somebody? Because I know you said that you depended on him for everything. So now he's not there. You didn't know which way to go. Certain things that he took care of. Now you had to step in and take care of that.
No, I definitely would not recommend that.
Yeah.
And I did have time for myself because Paul and I had a business. So I was home taking care of the business. Paul was at work. So I spent most days alone.
Right.
So after he passed, for me, later, not in the beginning. During the week, I'm good. And even still now, the weekends are hell for me.
Because it's like
that's
downtime?
That's when we would do
Yeah.
everything. So I was used to being alone during the week.
Right.
And then as an only child, I'm used to being alone, you know. But no, you have to, I think it's imperative that you have something that belongs to you.
Right.
It's imperative.
Like your own identity.
Yeah.
Because if you're depending on somebody, and I understand you're solely dependent on this person for everything, for cooking, and whatever works for you, it works for you. It works for you at that moment. But then when there's a disruption in that process,
Especially one you don't see coming.
right, you're blindsided, and then it's
Indeed.
like, how do I operate?
Maneuver,
You know?
yeah. I'm still, in some ways, I'm still trying to figure that out, you know.
So what kind of phases do you feel you personally went through from the initial loss to now, a few years later? What do you feel like your specific phases that you kind of went through?
Definitely ultra sadness, depression. There were
Now-
times I felt like I was losing my mind. That's when I had to reach out to a therapist.
Okay, I was going to say, like, during the depression stage and phase, however you want to describe it, when you did see the therapist, were you placed on medication? Did you feel like you just needed the therapy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
The feelings of isolation, I felt those heavily, and a lot of that had to do with the time that we were in, also because we all felt isolated.
To lose somebody during that time,
right,
you know,
right.
you can't fully. A lot of times, most of the time, you couldn't even fully be there while they're in the hospital,
right.
and you know,
we had to do it online for people, you know, because he had lots of friends from California, all over.
yeah.
So we had to do it, you know, online so they could be a part of it. And I guess also too, where I didn't want anyone around. I went through that. And then the crying spells, like I said, that was just endless. I cried morning, noon, and night. And also the disbelief, because I
Right.
kept thinking, this isn't real.
Right.
You wanna just wake up from it and
any
it just
minute
be
they're going to
normal.
call and say, oh my God, we're terribly sorry. This was a mistake.
Let me ask you this: did they call you and tell you, or
Oh,
were you there
no,
at the?
I never found out from the doctor. I'm still waiting. I found out through a donor organization calling me to get his organs. They were the ones who told me. I never knew. He
So-
So
had
this
passed
happened in
away.
the hospital, or where did?
You mean, did he pass in the
Yeah.
hospital? Yes, he passed in the hospital.
So
Okay.
he's in a hospital.
And he expired after I left.
So you left, and what condition? And he wasn't.
Well, from what the doctor told me, he'd be back home the next week.
Oh.
So when I called, and that was Thursday. So Friday morning, I called to see how he was doing, and no one would give me any information. So I called his brother, and his brother said, "Don't worry, I'll get through. I'll call." So in the interim, while we're waiting, I get a phone call, and I pick up the phone, and it's the donor organization saying, "We just wanted you to know we're sorry about what happened to your husband." And I said, "Well, you should tell me because I have no clue what happened to him." And I'm like, "Who are you?" And she said it, but then she started, she got very, very nervous. I got very, very angry, and then she hung up.
I
So
cannot
I
believe you
never
found out
really
that way.
heard. Yeah,
That
it's
is
horrendous.
It is.
Because she's a nurse.
And
Horrendous.
I'm a critical care nurse, and I've been working in the hospital for almost 20 years,
Me too.
and never.
That's where I met Paul.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah. in the
Oh, that's
hospital.
amazing. Okay.
Yep.
But I could imagine, and of course, I've lost patience.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah.
talking about a situation. Was this yesterday?
Just a couple-
2
2
days
days
ago,
ago, yeah.
where I lost a patient that I was not expecting to lose. Now, I have a separate job where I do case management work, and then I have my critical care job where I go to the hospital and work.
Right.
So my case management job, I follow up with patients, making sure that they understand their diagnosis, whether it be hypertension, diabetes, COPD, cancer, blah 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 blah. Make sure they understand their medications. Make sure they have education. Make sure they have their follow up appointments. Make sure they have the right doctors checking up after them. Making sure they have a good diet and exercise program. Blah 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 blah. So that's what I do in case management. So I was working with this patient since December. She had hypertension and like a diverticulitis. So I was helping her with that. Okay. Come March, I call her. She says, I got to call you back. I'm at the doctor's. I'm like, okay. I didn't hear from her. Call her back next week. The week after, she said, remember when you called me at the doctor's office? I was like, yeah. She said, doctor said I had cancer, lung cancer.
Wow.
I said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I said, but I'm going to be here with you through every step. We're going to go through, see what kind of treatment your doctor suggests that you get after you get your biopsy back. That's like officially like what kind of treatment are we doing for this particular cancer? If you need counseling, if you need support groups, I'll get whatever you need. I'm going to be here with you through every step. All of a sudden, she ends up in the hospital. I call the hospital. I'm like, what's going on with such and such? They say, oh, she's in the ICU, intubated. I said, oh my God.
Yeah.
She got 3 chemo treatments. 3, okay? I call the hospital every week to check on her. Oh, she's still not doing well. Well, this past week, I called, and they said she passed. Wow. I started crying. I couldn't believe it. I was crying. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I know a lot of people say nurses get desensitized. You still make connections with these patients.
That's what I was going to say. Right.
You still make connections, even though they're strangers, that, become less stranger because you're on the phone with them all the time, or you at the bedside with them. But I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, I was just on the phone with her like 3 weeks ago. I thought she was going to, make it out of the hospital at least. Like, oh, she's just had a little hiccup. She's going to be fine. She was the sweetest person. I was so devastated. I'm like still devastated. But I tried to call her phone to see if her family would pick up because I don't have numbers to her family. And I was hoping somebody would pick up so I could just talk to them and make sure they're had the support.
Yeah.
But nobody answered the phone. And I just was like, I cannot believe she's gone. Like, I just can't believe it. I still can't believe it now. But back to you, it's like, I can't believe that no one called you. Because when I lose a patient, the first person I call is the family.
Nope. And what they, they made, of course, they started covering HIPAA. It's like I worked in the hospital forever. I know how it works.
Right.
And she said, well, the doctor called you at. And I'm like, it's not on my phone. And I said, and again, I'm at the hospital. I'm drained. I've been his caretaker. You think I might have been sleeping? It's his duty to make sure that that goes in my ear.
Right.
I said, and then when I called, they start talking about HIPAA, which really made me angry. And I'm like,
HIPAA,
HIPAA has nothing to do with it. You've been his caregiver
I'm his
forever.
wife.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yes, that's ridiculous.
And yep. And I said, and then after that happened, I said, so you wouldn't give me the information, his wife of 29 years,
Right.
but you gave it to strangers. Mm-hmm. A donor. You're not getting any of my husband's organs. No one is.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Right. No, I understand.
Really?
Yeah, that's
So till this day, you still have no answers?
No.
Did they do an autopsy?
No. Nope. It was no, after that, there was no need.
I'm so-
But you know something? My instincts are really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And in the back of my head, because the doctor promised me that Paul would be home, I'm like, did they do something? Mm-hmm. Did they do something? Because it was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when he passed.
Wow.
And I had been there all evening with him.
Right.
It's like, and the doctor, I said, all I want him to do, because at that point, the ammonia from his liver, that's why he stopped eating. As long as Paul was in his right mind, he
Right.
would do what he needed to
Right,
do.
of course.
But once that happened,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh God, I'm gonna lose him because he's not eating. So he really didn't pass from his diagnosis. He passed from malnutrition and
All the-
dehydration because he stopped eating. He went when he first went to the hospital, big, husky, chocolate dude.
hey, to the chocolate one.
Came back 108 pounds. I couldn't even stand to look at him. It was hard.
Wow.
Wow.
And, the doctor said to me, man, that man really loves you. He doesn't remember anything. But when I say wife, he started. And I said,
Of course, definitely.
So he came back and he was good. He was eating, he was doing all of those things. And then every time that would happen, I'm like, oh my God, because it would be like a series of things.
Yeah.
And
Just
he
just
still
declining.
knew, right.
Yeah.
He still knew me, but he wouldn't eat. I remember he bit me. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me?
Right.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know what he was doing, and he didn't understand that if I put this food in your mouth, you have to chew, and I was always afraid of him choking.
Right.
At this
You
point,
know?
things were shutting down.
And I was like, he's not. And so, in all honesty, I had been grieving for a while.
Well, because you never really got
That's a
any
good point.
closure
Yeah,
to
right.
what happened
Nope,
and why.
I have no idea.
So
I have no
I
idea.
understand why it's taking so long and you're still going through the
And
process.
his mom is a nurse, and I didn't want to tell her that I think I just mentioned that because I was doing some paperwork, and the person on the other end of the phone said to me, oh, they gave him a heart attack. And I was like, excuse me? And I'm like, you know what? I can't handle that because I can't bring him back. We're not even going there. And I just let it go.
It's going to open up a whole it's like
Can
you
of
don't want to do.
worms.
Yeah, it's going to open up a
Exactly. And
whole
I'm like, I can't.
another
So
door
the-
of
right.
grief.
There's no point, And I got to the point, back to your question about the stages, because I'm tough. I can handle this. Yeah, okay, it's painful, but I've done everything on my own. I could do. Wrong answer. I got to the point where I'm like, okay, and I was hearing it. Girl, you need help. You need help. You need help. So I finally reached out, and back to the religious. I had a therapist that did secular and Christian,
Okay.
and I never asked for Christian.
Right.
So she would come on, and she would start quoting scripture.
Oh, interesting.
Not to me. I said to her, sweetie, am I really paying you all this money to read the Bible. Do you know how many Bibles I have in this house? I'm Black. I was raised in church. It just angered me.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm like,
'Cause that's not what you needed.
If the Bible was going to give me comfort, I would have
would've done
never had to reach out to
Right,
you.
right.
As many Bibles and versions as I have.
Sure.
So I had to let her go. And again, now I'm walking this plank alone.
Did you find another one?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And Paul sent her. It was so funny. It was a space, and it started getting tough again. It was never getting better, really. It was never getting better. And I said, okay, I have to reach out again. And I didn't, because I kept thinking. Now that was my second therapist, and I kept thinking, am I ever going to find anyone? So I sit down to my computer and I start doing a search. All of a sudden, this redhead pops up. Her name is Gina
Okay.
D. Archangel. I fell right out on the floor. I was crying so hard. I was like, oh
Wow.
my God. She has been with me ever since.
Your name, really?
Wow.
Gina, I'm like, and red hair. I'm like, okay.
Right.
And I looked at him and I'm like, thank you, babe.
Right.
And it's been good ever since.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, she's amazing.
That's good.
She's amazing.
And that's what I say to people. And I'm sorry, but if you initially start with a therapist and it's not working out, it doesn't mean therapy isn't going to work for you.
Right.
That's for sure.
And that's what a lot of people quit.
Yes.
for sure.
You got to try to
fi-
keep
right,
finding someone that
because-
works for you.
Right, because we're all different.
Right.
It's kind of like relationships, and one doesn't work, you move on to the next.
Ooh.
That's right.
Yeah, so finally I found her, and she said to me, it took a while, but she thought I was a therapist. And I'm like, Gina, whatever gave you that idea? She said, all the times that you were helping me. And I'm like, really? Yeah. And she just recently lost her brother.
Oh, sorry. And you know
But
what?
she doesn't do it. She can't. She doesn't, because every time I go there, she'll answer the preliminaries, and then she's like, "Okay, this is about you." And I'm like, "All right."
Right.
Which makes
I
sense.
get it.
But and that's also the reason why a couple months ago I wanted you to come on here, because I felt like after talking to you, I mean, one, you came from a good person, referral from a good person.
Indeed.
And then talking to you, I'm like, you can help so many people. You can help so many, and the fact that you didn't think where you are now is like, you didn't even see any of that in your cards as far as like what you do. So if I could, be a person to give you a space to speak, to be able to share,
And I so
somebody needs to hear
appreciate
it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So throughout the times of you seeing her, at what point did you realize that you wanted to do this?
Well, that was the first message I got. I didn't have a therapist at the time. And I know this sounds a little airy-fairy, because I thought so too. I heard a voice say, take a grief course. And I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, it's only me in here. So I'm like, God, first of all, I'm scared of dead people. I'm not taking no deep. What? You know how you created me. Stop doing that. What? So I ignored it, and it kept coming back. But then I got clarity. I was like, oh, it's for me. I'm the one that needs the help. So I went in search of, and I found a certification course. Now, at that time, again,
Who would
That-
you like to call?
Daggone Siri.
at that time, again, I didn't realize that I didn't put certification there. I just saw grief, and somebody's going to help me, and that's what I need.
Right.
So it was just a few months in, because my instructor was like, actually they all were, because everyone in the class had lost someone, but I was the baby. their losses were so far in the past. They had already, like those that had lost their husbands, they were already remarried, had new sets of
Oh,
kids,
wow.
that kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And she said to me, "Sweetheart, are you sure you want to do this?" And I said, "No, but I have to. I need something." And then that's when I started telling her about being alone, which she was very familiar with. And everyone in the class was sending me hugs and kisses and animation and all of that stuff.
That made you feel good.
Yes,
You know?
yes.
Like, it's the support.
It made me feel so good. And my instructor said, she said, "You have a lot more courage than I would have ever, because this is still so raw." Because I think it was just a few months at
Oh,
the
wow.
time. And she said, "At any time that you're triggered or you need to go, just go.
Right.
I understand. You can make up less. There's no pressure here."
But that courage was so important. The fact that you, like what you said, no, I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not ready.
I'm right.
It's like I'm
But
not, but I
have
have
to
to do
right.
this, and that's that first step is everything. Because think of the people that don't do that,
Right.
that
Right.
get in their own way.
Right.
You're grieving and trying to get through such a hard time that you're like, you know what? I need to be the best version of myself.
Of myself. And she, and at that point, I didn't even realize that. But again, we all have, it's that thing that's pushing you. I couldn't put it in words at that time, but now I realize that's exactly what it was. Yeah. And she broke us up into peer groups. So it was 2 and 2 and 2. And of course, as always, it was only one male in the class. And I ended up with the male. So being typical Miss Virgo, I'm fussing. Why do I have to get him?
You knocking my future husband from wanting a Virgo.
Why can't I get another? Why can't I get one of the women?
Right.
Well, Jason, he had the worst loss of all. A child, a baby.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But it had been 5 years, and his wife's name was Gina, which I thought was really funny.
Oh,
wow.
See, you were meant to be there.
Yes.
And he was he did mitigation,
Okay.
conflict resolution, and she paired us up. We were supposed to coach each other. That never happened. At that point, I was saying, because for me, I wanted to do empowerment. I want, and that's what I had been doing all my life for free.
Right.
So I said to him, I don't understand how to mesh the two. So he said, "Regina, tell me something. Since you've been grieving, do you feel like you needed to be empowered?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" And I looked at him and I'm like, "Oh, okay, you're right." And we never traded roles. He was a godsend. He coached me. He was he lives in Canada. And he was so sweet. And, he helped me so much. And then afterward, we still stay in touch. We
That's
still
great.
stay. Yeah, we
It's
still
crazy.
stay
The
in touch.
support that you usually get a lot of
Yeah.
times is from outside, not from the people that are supposed to be the closest in your
Which is
circle.
what the instructor was saying. Those friends that you thought would be there, unfortunately, usually they're not there.
Deaths and
because-
weddings can kind of bring out
Right.
the best and worst in
because they
people.
don't know what to say. They feel at a loss, and I get that, but I don't know. It's like sometimes you have to rise above and think of the other person instead of your own
Of
self.
course,
I
definitely.
love that.
I agree.
So now, fast forward a little bit of time, right? Are you at that place like where you're open to date, or are you still close?
Well, funny you should ask. I did it before. I got this odd notion that I would go on a dating site.
After how long? Like how long ago?
Maybe 8 months.
Okay.
And that's when I kept getting the same guy with a different
What dating site
face.
did you go on? So we can just let our viewers know if it's not up to par, if you want to share.
No, it wasn't that the dating site wasn't up to par.
Right. It was the person
Yeah,
or
it was
persons.
I kept. Like
I mean, the
said,
men,
I
yeah,
kept
the-
getting the
the-
same man with a different face.
What kind of
but
man?
What happened? Needy, not to get does And what I realized is because I do understand that anything that comes to me, I brought it to me.
Right.
So I said, okay, I need to stop because I don't want to be someone's mother. I'm not fixing you. Those been there, done that, got the bullet wound to prove it.
Right.
I'm not doing that.
Right.
So I stepped back and I realized there's a spot in me that obviously still needs healing. There's a broken place in me. So I stopped. I stepped back because I think what was pushing was the being alone.
Right.
I couldn't stand it. That's the part that made
Yeah.
me feel like I was losing my mind. And on the weekends, oh God, it was so painful. I dreaded the weekends. I dreaded going upstairs to my bedroom. So it
Which is, I
wasn't.
understand
It
that.
wasn't. Let's say it was less than successful. But I pulled back in order to, because see, I got something, and this goes back to what you asked me. Things started happening to me that I never knew went with losing a spouse, like a lot of childhood trauma started coming up. I started remembering things about my mom because I really don't remember a lot of my childhood. And when I would go walking to kind of clear my head, I would get images and things would come back because I never realized that it went with that,
Right.
So I had to heal those abandonment issues, things like that. And
Because once you start diving a little bit more in with the therapy, and
Yeah.
now these things are starting to come out and are
Right.
resurfacing. Like, where does this come from? Because now you're digging
because
deep.
I'm not right. Because
Yeah.
I'm thinking, what does that have to do with losing Paul? But it really didn't have anything
Right.
to do with losing Paul. It had everything to do with me being courageous enough to sit here when, that's
Right.
not.
No,
yeah.
I-
So because
Yeah.
again, this is my desire. So I'm like, okay, there's certain things that you have to shed so I can assist the right way.
Right.
Right.
So I understood that and I backed off.
I love that you were able to recognize that.
Yeah.
And are able to get to that, get through that nitty gritty.
Because I had been doing this type of work for a really long time, meaning understanding that I attract what comes into my life.
Right.
So it wasn't that odd for me to, it just made more space, which was good. And my therapist helped make space, and I understood that in order to have something new come in, it's like us girls that want to go shopping. You have to move some of the other stuff to allow things to come in.
Amen to
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and that's what, that's what I did. Now I feel like I'm ready. And I also understand that I won't get those same men because I'm not on that level.
Right.
I don't need
Oh my God, that's
fixing.
like a whole other episode.
Yeah.
But yes,
Yes.
it's so true
I
because
don't
you're in a
need
different
fixing.
You're in a different space right now.
And they
Right.
won't see me.
Emotionally,
Exactly.
like
Yes.
mentally, internally, that's spiritually, you're in a different place. So you're, what Paul offered you 30 years ago when you guys first met, that's aligned, and then you guys grew together.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
pickings are slim these
And
days.
that's that. Right, sure.
It's very
talk
slim.
about that.
Very slim,
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
It's like, okay, now what? It's daunting because let's say if dating was still like it was, there's no apps or anything, it would still be challenging for me
Of
because I've been
course.
off the market
It's
for 30
challenging for
years.
everyone. Okay,
Yeah.
You know what I
challenging for
mean?
everyone.
So,
yes.
yeah,
Because
so-
now you have to learn, it's just a whole
I'm
different
on a
way of
dating
learning.
site, I'm like, what is
Right.
this?
Like,
It's
the world is going a
so
different
funny.
direction, than
it's
what it was
so
back then, yeah.
odd
Right.
to me. And it's
This is why we're single.
yeah. So it's just, I guess it's just, again, getting used to this, the way the world is now.
Right.
And getting used to my new.
Right.
My new, because I'm definitely not the same Regina I was 2 years ago or even 6 months ago.
Right. Exactly.
So
Don't mean to interrupt. So we're winding down time. So I just want to, if you can allow, our viewers to give them a little advice on if they have recently lost someone, what are like a first couple steps that they can start, when they're ready, and how they can reach you specifically if they need to reach out for assistance.
Well, the first thing is to know that whatever you're feeling is normal, whatever it is, and not to allow anyone to give you a timetable on when and how long you should grieve. And then I would say, reach out to someone professional. And the only reason I say that is because you may have a very supportive network, but if they haven't lost their spouse, they're never going to get what you're going through. They'll never understand to the depth that you need them to.
Right.
So, and that's why I say reach out to someone with some, with knowledge, and someone that can
Maybe who's not
really,
biased too.
Right.
Someone who's non-biased.
Right.
And
someone that can really take you from grief to gratitude. Because when I heard that, I'm like, gratitude, what? But,
Grief to gratitude. I love that. I love that.
I know, so do I.
And that's the last thing you think, But I'm exceptionally grateful. Exceptionally
And I love that, you purposely reached for that gratitude.
Yes.
Like a lot of times people think that like, oh, it's just, I'm supposed to have this gratitude. And no, it's like, it's the work that you're putting in to get to that place.
And we all make choices. And even though it's hard, you have to choose to put one foot in front of the other. You have to, and sometimes people would say to me, which used to annoy me, oh, just take it one day at a time. Sometimes it can only be a minute at a time. You can't get through a day.
Right. That makes perfect sense.
So how can our viewers get in touch with you if they need your services?
Well, my website is choosingserenity.org.
Okay.
choosingserenity.org. Okay.
And my email is support@choosingserenity.org.
Okay.
Okay.
Love that.
No.
Okay.
So we'll give all
Yeah.
of that information in the description and on all our platforms, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube. We'll give all the
So
credentials
anyone
on
can
how to
reach
reach
out
her
to
if you
Okay.
need to,
thank
from email and the website. So I just want to say, thank you so much for being here with us. You've helped us.
It really
In
did.
this
I mean,
1
it's just,
hour, literally, like seriously, because we're both going through something right now, and I just want to thank you for being here for us and sharing your story with everyone.
Thank you for having me. Are
I
you
so
kidding me?
believe
It's
in
my
timing.
pleasure.
I so believe in timing. Your patient passed on Friday.
Yeah, and your
My
sister's
sister's
mom?
mother last night, my girlfriend's uncle last week, and I just feel like this came at a time where it wasn't set up or planned.
Right.
So
just happened, for
we
sure.
really appreciate that. I feel like we gave 1 billion help tips.
I know. So we're
not even
we
going to
did a lot of health
affirmations.
tips.
Our
We did so
affirmation
many affirmations.
is going to be from grief to
gratitude.
gratitude.
But you got to put the work in
Yes.
when you're
There
ready
is
to put
life
the work
after
in.
death.
Got to put the work
There
in.
life
is
after
life
death,
after
yes.
death.
Yes.
I
So
love
thank you
it.
so much.
Yes.
And I'll do my shout outs and brand blasts in the description. So thank you again for being here. Thank you guys
you.
for watching. Bear it all.
We appreciate it.
podcast.
Where we bear it all.
Yes.
Are you ready to bear it all?
Subscribe.
Yes, I
share.
am.
Oh yes. Oh yes.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Thanks, guys.
Love you guys.